silly. The seam making the play. Alex with the triple. He's the man of the moment, and he's not slowing down.
It never gets old.
Røkkr goes huge. Are you kidding? The Røkkr lighting it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Still a few more games to go here. Day 2, Seattle home series. Of course, for Seattle, they are out as of that last game. Congratulations to the LA Guerrillas. They finally break the streak. As of course, joined by the wonderful Chance, ready to go for our next game, which should be a good one, Chance. I'm going to be honest, for everyone playing CDL Bingo out there, it's probably going to go the distance. I really think it will. It's a rematch, of course. We've already seen it yesterday, but I'm excited nevertheless. Of course, OpTic Gaming LA versus Minnesota Røkkr.
Yeah, I mean, the good news as far as competitive goes, at the very least, both the S&Ds went to round 11. If you get a Game 5 round 11, how close could it be? I think the domination was like an 8-point differential, and I think one of the hard points was a blowout on a Zir Cave. OpTic actually destroyed them, beat them like 250-135, but then the interesting thing is 3 of the 5 maps are going to be repeats, so very similar series, and that means we'll have some great stats for you, better than the ones that Lottie was going to have guaranteed. Actually, probably not.
But nice. Yeah, some fantastic stats. And I'm actually curious to get your thoughts on this, because I don't think I've actually ever asked you this. But having a repeat series, how do you feel about how you approach the map ban and pick process? Do you run it back, or are you all right? We got to ban out certain maps, especially considering, kind of to your point, how close the last series was.
I mean, so it's always going to be situational with what I would do, but in this situation, I can tell you exactly what Minnesota did. They didn't want to run it back necessarily, because at least one of the S&Ds, again, both of them went to round 11, but the one that they lost, they got rid of the map. I think it was, the Petro, they lost 6-5. They said no more Petro, and they're actually jumping to a Gunrunner S&D, which I don't know if you remember Minnesota's Gunrunner Search and Destroy performance, but they are, 1-5 overall,
right.
So they're choosing to play on one of their worst maps instead of running back the Petro. So, again, if you're talking about the psychology of the teams, they didn't like what they saw. They want to try to mix it up, and hopefully they've made improvements on that map and have something planned for OpTic.
We'll wait and see. Of course, our game fuel keys to victory. There's a glance at Minnesota Røkkr. Apply pressure, work together, play the trade game in S&D with Asim and Alex, and of course limit Slasher's damage. Pretty much agree across the board with most of those. For me, Minnesota Røkkr, it's about closing out series as well, especially against the big boys. And they had success, yes, against OpTic Gaming yesterday, but you need to repeat it today, Chance, and you're trying to play for a spot on Sunday. So a big game up ahead. Obviously, Minnesota Røkkr, for me, 2 weeks ago, didn't really perform as I expected them to. Can they bounce back today, though? That's the question. Meanwhile, the keys to victory for OpTic Gaming, pretty simple, apparently. Get Dashy going. 0.77 overall KD. I know he tweeted out earlier on saying that he's just really struggling to find that groove. But I think one thing's for sure, Chance, when he does find that groove, he's an incredible player.
And he's absolutely correct on the Dashy point as well. Like, the first map we're going to is Zir Cave. Again, the record overall for Minnesota is fantastic. They're 7-3 on it. And it was very surprising to me when OpTic not only beat Minnesota, but beat them as badly as they did. Again, 135. And it was actually Dashy that went off. He dropped 37 kills on the map when, again, his average is normally quite a bit lower than that, at least against Minnesota. So this is a map where normally Minnesota feast. GodRx always goes off. But yesterday it was Dashy who completely turned up. Needs to replicate at least something vaguely similar to that, and if not him, Slasher's got to pick up the slack in hopes that they could take Minnesota down.
Well, game number 1 of a repeat series from yesterday underway. Minnesota Røkkr, OpTic Gaming LA. We'll start on board with Røkkr. See if they can start off strong here. The Zir Cave on your screens. Trying to push over towards T1, of course, advantage early for OpTic Gaming LA, just based off the side of which they've spawned. And if you're used to competitive Call of Duty, you want to look over towards that far right of your minimap. That, of course, is going to be the real important spot to try and anchor those spawns ready for P2.
And of course, a more analysis for this map as well, just talking about how many assault rifles you can actually use. It's a similar thing for Chino. Yes, he can use both, but sometimes when he's able to use the M4, just for a hill or two every now and again, it's definitely a good spot for him to be in. There you see him pop out of the kill feed just a little bit, but either way, rotation battle starting to fight. You see OpTic has done a fantastic job of at least keeping spawns. However, not the actual hill. Minnesota has built themselves a very nice lead.
Yeah, that was a good job from Slasher and Chino. Just bait and switch, hunt down Alex at the back of the map to lock down the spawns. But to your point, Minnesota Røkkr, they're just in the hill. They're milking all the hill time they can possibly get. Still 10 seconds before the rotation comes through, and OpTic Gaming still yet to earn a point. They focus so heavily on the spawns. You have to make sure at that point, when you dedicate so much time and resources into locking the spawns in, you cannot allow anyone to sneak by. So credit to OpTic Gaming LA for doing just that. But this is where now you have to have a solid hold. You cannot allow a quick break from Røkkr.
And at the very least, you don't necessarily have to tie the game, but you got to get it within like 10 or 15 points, or you're just feeling terrible about the situation you've put yourself in. And, well, you can see the attempt from Minnesota trying to pour all the pressure over through the right side of the map. They've broken through on at least the spawns front. Now it's about winning the gunfights to get to the actual hill.
47-23, still 30 seconds left on P2, is still relatively contested. Does have a couple players right in front of him trying to play aggressively. Get those kills. Unfortunately, not going to be the case for him. He will fall, and OpTic Gaming LA should be able to get the final 20 seconds unless Røkkr has something to say about it. Currently, 5-5 start for him. Unfortunately, that will not increase. Quavo shuts him down, and well, for OpTic Gaming LA, the scrap time contested. They have rotation over towards soccer field first. Got to get those kills in transition. Unfortunately for Slasher, though, it's Røkkr that finds the pick. Still, Minnesota Røkkr with a small lead.
The small lead, and Dashy, the man up front, the one that needs to go big for the team, at least is doing fairly sufficient now at 7-5, but also gets the intro kill on the hill. And you can see it is a slight edge to OpTic, who have one body in the hill, but you got all 8 players, well, nearly all 10 going to be in and around the hill. And you just look at the kill feed, just like that, Silly's able to pick up 3. Minnesota get the clear wipe, and any small advantage OpTic might have had instantly gets dissipated. And not Silly, just trying to set up for some spawn kills.
Yeah, it's a great start from Silly. 7-3 he sits after that triple kill, in the way for Minnesota Røkkr to push through the hill, try and influence the spawns. And quick glance there at the overhead, you can see so far Minnesota Røkkr not able to push through just yet, but they'll be more than happy again just to sit in the hill, milk the hill time. 86-38, the current score with 12 seconds still to go. Røkkr is going to have a big job to do as he pushes through cave. Unfortunately for him, Slasher meets in there, and OpTic Gaming LA once again set up, ready to go, but they need to reduce this lead.
And you got players just a couple inches away from each other in the smoke. But either way, most important hill right now for OpTic by a mile. They're down by about 50. They could basically tie the game up here, but obviously they do not want to go down by another chunk. In Minnesota, the pinch is in. 2 players have gotten through the back cave. I don't know who for OpTic was supposed to be watching that, but everyone's able to sneak by. Chino is only able to take down 1, and you can see Minnesota just enough pressure to get the break. And again, major props to Assault for being that guy to at least force those spawns out a little bit further.
And that's such a quick break as well. OpTic was only able to hold that for about 20 seconds. And, obviously, you give credit there to Assault, 13-6, 50 seconds of hill time. Him and Silly really milking the hills for all it's worth, it seems, as Minnesota Røkkr looking good again to get the final scrap time. There's a quick glance as well, picture-in-picture of the rotation fight, where, bear in mind, it's actually Asim who's there already, so the scrap time basically irrelevant. For me, it's can Asim somehow hold down that choke point? If he can, for me, Minnesota Røkkr could honestly really start pulling away in this game.
And believe it or not, this is actually the most difficult hill in the game to break, apparently, at least according to JP. So not easy to get through if you do not get those early spawns. The good news for OpTic, they're actually really going to be to the hill first. They've got enough pressure just on the hard point. The question is, how long can they realistically hold on to this? Obviously, Minnesota with the closer spawn. Assault up top, only able to find 1 so far. And you can see right now, they're just kind of pinned back in their spawn. Minnesota got here first, yes, but they haven't gotten any real time.
That's fantastic communication as well from Røkkr, because Assault pulled that too. He didn't even have to worry about the second. His teammates there instantly to assist, and the chaos through the smoke is keeping Minnesota Røkkr away from the hill, so OpTic will finally be able to touch it. But even so, a lot of damage has been done. They're just reducing the overall amount of points that Minnesota Røkkr could earn. The problem, of course, for OpTic Gaming LA is when they finally break through, they're not able to hold. So this lead chance is only going to get bigger. And bear in mind, that spawn for P2, so crucial. Minnesota Røkkr still favor it, of course, based off the spawns now, to hold that kill.
At the same time, though, OpTic can just do to Minnesota what Minnesota did to them, right? It was a 48-second run, I think, just on P1 alone. So, literally, just on 1 hill that Minnesota had just to open up the game. You can ignore all the other points they've got. They'd only been down by 20. So that just means OpTic, they're going to have to go large on this hill. And for the moment, in a fairly decent spot. No, they don't have pressure on spawn, but still, they are chipping away at that lead.
I'd love to have a glance over towards TJ's POV at some point. It's been a very slow start by his standards. 6-19, triple negative, only 25 seconds of hill time as well. Would love to see what's going wrong for him, whether it's just not getting the support he desperately needs, or is it simply just not winning as many gunfights. Unfortunately, there he will fall. A team kill comes through as well. well. Minnesota Røkkr basically gifted a free break and maybe even some hill time. But again, the fight response is going to be so crucial. TJ assisting number 6 on the minimap, which is Chino, who's done a really good job of just pushing all the way through cave. Again, fighting for those spawns.
Yeah, you'd think, wouldn't you? It actually just spawned there. Didn't really have to fight for it. The game just kind of gave it to him. Silly actually was trying to lock down the spawns in the back. And yes, there was pressure coming from the cave, but the game was like, hey, Chino, I love you. You're a great guy. Let's help you out just a little bit. And frankly, I respect it. If there's anyone the spawn system should help, let it be Money Chi.
Unfortunately for Quavo, he's going to fall, but Slasher with a trade and a double kill. Gaming LA fighting back. And could start here with a full hold. As you said, all it takes is one good hill and they'll be right back in the game in terms of points. Slasher, of course, a big job to do is he has to watch that cross. Unfortunately for him, that's going to be short-lived as he will fall. But again, OpTic Gaming LA still inside the hill, still getting all the points.
Yeah, they were given a gift, and right now they're making pretty good use of it. Obviously, they were down by a ton of points, and frankly, if they were not able to get spawns on this hill, that might have just been straight up the dagger in the game, but that just means Minnesota, the work is not over yet. Asim still putting pressure on the hill. 20 seconds left, nearly on the point, and at the very least, Minnesota, they just want to keep OpTic out, so fairly important one-on-one for GodRx, but Kenny, the sweeping man, making sure to protect his boy. They're going to be able to get the final bit of scrap, and what could have been a 100-point game, Ben, now is turned only to about 30 points.
Definitely getting a little closer. I want to give some credit to Assault, though, who's been absolutely stellar throughout map number 1 so far. 23 and 12. I feel like so often a lot of credit has gone to some of the other players in Minnesota Røkkr throughout the season, but don't underestimate the consistency Assault has brought to this team. Seems every single respawn he's holding his own and more, if you will. So another good performance from him. However, big picture, OpTic Gaming LA still trying to contest the hill. Slasher's going to be a big part of that as he finds GodRx looking for number 2, finds that as well. Asim, though, very quick to trade. Asim with 2, and just like that, Minnesota Røkkr locking the hill.
And this is brutal for OpTic, because what are you going to do, right? 25 seconds on the hill, you're already down by a ton. You need to get the scrap time, but obviously, you can't afford to lose the rotation either, so you got 2 players for OpTic coming off respawn, trying to rotate. They're getting cut off and killed potentially by Alex. You're trying to fight for the scrap time. It's taking you that long just to get those final 10 seconds, which, yes, that's nice to get, but you have to make sure you win these gunfights on rotation as well, and this is going to be a lot of pressure on just 3 members of OpTic Gaming who are in this new hill.
And they break through, or will this again be potential for OpTic Gaming LA to have a full hold and bring themselves right back into the game? Well, it starts well for OpTic, a couple of kills in quick succession. Silly trying to break, Quavo will shut him down. No, for GodRx, he has to be patient. No point funneling through in single file, 1 by 1. Has to wait for the team support and the cavalry to be there. They've broken through hills several times, but once again, unsuccessful. Asim, it's his turn to drop down, and Quavo again, already pre-aiming the drop down. He'll find his second kill in the same spot. OpTic Gaming LA looking good to potentially tie this game up for Minnesota Røkkr. The key fight actually could be on the other side of the map. Alex versus, I believe that's going to be TJ. Keep your eyes on that minimap, the far side, 1 versus 8. That could have a massive influence on how the rest of the game goes. It's TJ that wins it. OpTic Gaming LA from down around about 60 points to now in the lead. TJ has to go big here, has to buy time for his teammates, and more importantly, just stay alive. Dashy with a crucial 2-piece.
Bought the 2-piece for his teammate, and then TJ was able to pick up at least 1, but Minnesota, you just see the pressure game is oh so strong. They had an extra man because they weren't getting the scrap time, so yes, they will be the first to cliff path, and I stated it before, this is the most difficult hill in the game to break, and right now, OpTic, the pressure is on. Minnesota in a fantastic spot to win here. You got to pick the pressure point right now. Someone's going on the flank. Assault deals with him. Now OpTic have to flood through the front.
Yeah, now it's just going to be funneling through, and you expect the ARs to just pick up all the kills. There's Silly's 4th. Can Silly find 5 in a row? Not going to happen, but now Alex can push straight through the hill, surely looking for the trade. TJ finds himself 2 in a row. GodRx just trying to pre-fire through the smoke. A team kill for OpTic Gaming LA may actually be enough just to seal the deal, but no, somehow Chino's broken through. Somehow OpTic Gaming LA stay alive. 241, 227, 17 seconds on the clock. If you're OpTic Gaming LA, you cannot win it here, but more importantly, it's a foot race now to what is going to be P1, where the game is more than likely going to end. In fact, it definitely will end, of course, with 6 seconds left on that hill. Dashy pushing through. TJ's there in support. Can OpTic Gaming steal this game from what was looking surely like a Minnesota Røkkr win? Well, Dashy with the cut. Assault somehow finds the pick. 243, 241. OpTic Gaming in the lead. Minnesota Røkkr looking to try and contest. There's no one there. TJ inside the hill, and that's going to be GG game 1. OpTic Gaming LA 250 to 241 the win. And honestly, Chance, I didn't think there was any way they could make that comeback.
I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but that is definitely one of the largest comebacks we've had this year in hardpoint. Again, I think it got to maybe 80 points, I think was the lead for Minnesota. Had the lead the entire game just about, and there was a couple moments for OpTic where the pressure was on. You think about the Cave West Hill, let's say, the old P number 4, and you just had 3 members for OpTic that had to force the rotation over from Soccer Field. They were fighting 4 members in Minnesota, and what was it, Kenny, that was sitting inside the little truck, goes on a 3 spree, his teammates pick it up, then you have the rotation over there. TJ wins the 1v1 against Alex, buys his time for Dashy to come over and pick up those. Sometimes you just got Chino who gets gifted a spawn to make sure you break, so instead of being down by 100, instead you're only down by 30, so a little bit of luck was involved, but also quite a bit of skill. And OpTic Gaming, you talk about being happy about a map number 1. They don't quite replicate the performance on Azir Cave, but they get the win nonetheless.
I mean, Chino goes about even 21 and 23, 2 minutes 12 kill time, so a big shift from him. Slasher, though, 35 kills, 26 deaths. And I'm going to be honest, Chance, when TJ jumped out of top Røkkr, I thought that was going to be a massive mistake, which would cost OpTic Gaming LA. But somehow, credit to Chino and Slasher fighting from the front of that hill. They break through. They don't allow Minnesota Røkkr to end it there. And then the foot race on rotation, all the gunfights go the Green Wall's way.
And it's not just that as well. Like, you had a moment where I think Minnesota was, what, maybe 8 seconds or something like that away from winning the game. And there was 20 seconds left on the final hard point before the first one pops up for new. And OpTic Gaming, they knew what they had to do. They didn't force it. It didn't flood into the old hill. They trusted the 2 guys that they had over there, and they made sure to rotate over to the next hard point, get inside yellow, get inside that little cave cut area, and just make sure you keep Minnesota pinned back in their spawn. They didn't let anybody sneak through. No one to get out and make the play. No one to get sort of map control over towards the new hill. They trapped them in, set up the spawn trap perfectly, and kept them pinned back for an extra maybe 30, 35 seconds, something along those lines, and made the rotation game that much easier. It was perfectly executed by OpTic.
Again, final score 250-241, advantage OpTic Gaming LA. There's a quick glance at some of the stats. Again, the standout ones for me, Slasher, great performance from him, 35-26. Chino with so much hill time, 2 minutes 12 seconds. On the other side, for Minnesota Røkkr, I mean, Assault had a great game, 30 kills, 20 deaths, minute 12 hill time, but in reality, what looked like it was a very well-rounded game for Minnesota Røkkr. Everyone really inputting to productivity in terms of hill time and in terms of kills. Just a great comeback right at the very end, Chance.
And this is a map where GodRx, I think, on average, has like a 1.39 KD, like largest in the lobby on this map by far. But obviously, he gets shut down in the same way he effectively got shut down yesterday. Yesterday, it was Dashy that went off and dropped 37 kills. This time, it was Slasher that had a very nice game and dropped 35 as well. So it always sucks when the spawns come into effect like that, but we're used to it now at this point, especially on Azir Cave at times. So OpTic, again, 2-0 in the past 2 days on Azir Cave against Minnesota.
Well, we'll take a look now at our quick scope presented by the U.S. Air Force. Again, just a quick comparison really between the two teams and how their seasons have gone in terms of CDL points, match record, even some stats where you look at the hardpoint KD, advantage from Minnesota Røkkr, S&D slap bang even, and well, for Dom, it couldn't really be much closer, could it? 1.01 to a 0.99. Really, the standout there is the hardpoint KD, and well, OpTic Gaming say, well, screw your stats, we'll go ahead and we'll take hardpoint anyway.
And obviously, still a ton of Call of Duty left to play, like this weekend, let alone the entire year, right? But I think the storyline for Minnesota is a lot of people, or at least a lot of teams, were saying that Minnesota was a top 4 team right at the start of the year. I don't know how many fans, it took a while for like the rest of the community to kind of buy into that idea, but from the get-go, they've been towards the top. I don't think that's necessarily shifted, but we have seen a ton of other teams really starting to catch up and start to close that gap. OpTic is the prime example of it. I don't think Minnesota got any worse. I think their practice is going to be just as good. I think the talent is obviously still there. I just think other teams have been getting better, and this is going to turn into maybe 8-9 teams in the league we have right now, maybe even 10. It is just going to turn into a hyper-competitive battle pretty much for the remainder of the year.
Right, any given Sunday, essentially, right? Who's just going to perform a little bit better? There's a lot of teams that we all believe could go out and win a weekend. Of course, if some of the other top teams aren't there, maybe make your life a little bit easier. And we'll wait and see if maybe OpTic Gaming LA can try and go the distance here. Or obviously, a little too soon to maybe call that Minnesota Røkkr down, but not out by any means as we head over towards Search and Destroy. And I think the big 1v1 I'm excited for here is actually going to be GodRx versus Dashy. Those sniper fights should be exciting, to say the least.
Absolutely. This should be a good time, and I think at least in the head-to-head, right now, GodRx has a pretty big advantage over Dashy. Even on this map, I think GodRx has been putting up some pretty big numbers, but the fear, I would say, for Minnesota is really going to be Slasher, who's thrown up a 1.7 on this map as of recent, or at least over the course of the entire year. But the past 3 times they've played on this map, Slasher has always been crazy, and he's also the key man on the map, right? He is almost always the guy watching the flank, watching those outside cuts, and he's been doing a fantastic job of it. This time, though, OpTic don't even need him for the moment. Found the first blood, had the second, and now have their slow crawl into the B site.
And just to touch on that, I feel like one of the keys to Slasher's success statistically is just how proactive he is. Right? You mentioned that he watches the flank, but he's very, very quick to recognize when he has to hit something or when he has to just stay in pre-aim. That's what makes him such a valuable asset in terms of search and destroy. As the round starting to really develop. Bomb, of course, planted. 37 seconds. Gets to pick up the dashes. Minnesota Røkkr try and funnel straight through. The trades are there, and that's now going to leave Slasher and Quavo in a 2 versus 2. GodRx and Assault up for Røkkr. As Quavo, unfortunately for him, man, so you have to just bust straight through the door. Check bomb, no one on it. Slasher finds one. There's the second. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy for OpTic Gaming LA in round 1.
Yeah, maybe got a little bit nerve-wracking for a moment, but eventually the perfect pinch was in. You see Slasher starts making noise to the window. We saw where he was pre-aiming just a few moments before. Slasher held the angle, trusted Kenny to slide in and check the bomb, see what was going on. And of course, as soon as Slasher starts shooting at that first player, well, the next guy is going to be focused on Slasher. Kenny gets the free kill to shoot in the back, and a very strong offensive round coming out for OpTic, who have shown a ton of different offensive strategies on this map.
Yeah, a fair amount. I feel like every time we see them play, they're trying to do something a little different and very unique. We'll see them, of course, on the defensive side. Dashy snipes out. Does GodRx have a sniper in hand to counter? Well, based off their strat and where he is, assume no. Looks like it's going to be assault rifle for him. TJ, though, should find a first blood there. That was as simple as it's going to get. Silly falls now. OpTic Gaming LA have all the information on the Røkkr strat. It's definitely going to be the B site, and unfortunately, a couple players pinned in, and TJ will find another pick that round. It's Alex that falls. One trade does come through, and well, for Assault, he's left really on the best spot to try and assist his teammate, who is left trying to scramble for his life. They may be able to get out of B and rotate over towards A, but then you still have a few players from OpTic Gaming LA that you need to deal with.
Kenny gonna be able to find the next kill. GodRx last man standing, but realistically the round has already been won, and TJ was the biggest part of it, right?
Yep.
These teams played each other on this map yesterday. Goes to a round 11. If it goes that deep, you have to show about every single strat that you have available to you. Looks like TJ is starting to make some reads, right? Gets that first blood on Silly, has the exact perfect angle that he needs to hold, makes the play after that as well. And now we're watching GodRx just dance for his life, but of course he's been giving absolutely nothing.
Great discipline from Quavo, not to just peek at unnecessary time. Well, he peeks at the right time and he gets the kill. Really disciplined stuff. It just kept GodRx honest and guessing of exactly when that challenge was going to come through. And credit to Chino as well, just staying alive, just being a nuisance, if nothing else. OpTic Gaming, 2 rounds in a row, 2-0 up here in game 2.
And obviously earlier I mentioned Slasher on this map having a 1.7 KD, which is fantastic, of course, but Kenny actually has the most kills on the team. I think Slasher was at 71, not counting however many kills they have this map. I can't do math that fast, but Kenny's got 79, so he's actually a little bit more involved than Slasher, even if Slasher has the, better looking KD towards the end. Okay,
so it's not all just about that, like KD. Kenny involved in a lot of action, that's for sure, specifically on this map in game mode. Overhead look at the A site. OpTic Gaming will try and attack it. A couple of utility thrown. Alex is in such a good spot, though, to really just shut down this entire attack himself. Going into the trenches. With Alex being so patient. Has to be patient here as well. Just maybe rely on your teammates to try and do a little bit of damage, and then when the right opportunity and the right time comes, that's when you pounce. Of course, the first blood did come through. Quavo that fell. Alex again just being so disciplined, and this is now really where he's going to come into action, and unfortunately for him, Chino knows to check the corner. He'll find the pick, and that of course levels the playing field 4 versus 4.
Bomb going down, and a missed shot by GodRx is going to force him to back down. So you get the plant, and OpTic, all you have to do is back up and watch the bomb. Merc has been losing his mind about this.
Well, I think there's a little flank coming through from Silly, but he's not quick here. 30 seconds. Nice play from TJ. 2 kills for him. And that leaves Silly on his lonesome. Will shoot Chino in the back, but now everyone else knows exactly where he is. You see the player mid-cut just play his life. That's going to be Slasher. DJ may fall as well, but it doesn't matter. Slasher has the cross. The great read from Silly, but with 13 seconds, rounds done and dusted. The Gaming LA, they'll go 3-0 up. And considering how close yesterday's game was, Chance, this one definitely not following suit.
And genuinely, it cannot be easy to play against OpTic on this map at all. Like, yes, they have had quite a few rounds that they kind of throw away just because they misplay, throw away man advantage, whatever it's going to be. But at the same time, they have to have, what, 6, 7, 8 different opening strats and at least minor little variations that they sort of tweak and make adjustments to pretty consistently. I don't know how you can ever predict exactly what they're going to do on offense, because sometimes they show B, cut through mid-map and go to A. Sometimes they swing all the way outside of over B. They have, it seems like, about the widest breadth of strats on this map compared to most other teams.
Keeps guessing at all times as there's going to be the sniper fight. Advantage got RX. I thought for a second that Dashi was lining up a collateral. Not going to be the case. RX also almost sniped his teammate. Alex will find the second pick, and so the Røkkr finally showing signs of life as and this from God RX. Forces again him to back down, but falls elsewhere and trades elsewhere. Result in Quavo and Slasher, the only 2 remaining players for OpTic Gaming LA. They're going to have to deal with 4 from Minnesota Røkkr. And for now, Røkkr can just bide some time. 45 seconds left in the round. Plenty of time for them to close this out comfortably.
Kenny, I was going to say potentially big moment if players lined up coming through the little side hill, but caught timing at its finest as soon as he looks away is exactly when everyone pops up and leaves Slasher by his lonesome. Slasher, though, has had a couple clutches on this map, so definitely not over yet, Ben, but the bomb is going to get planted. He's going to get shot in the side, and finally, Assault is going to put the stamp on the round and finally get Minnesota on board.
And they use this round to propel a little bit of confidence. 2 in a row. You don't really want to go back and forth at this point. You definitely got to win at least 2 or 3 in a row of your Minnesota Røkkr just to keep it close and really stop that momentum from OpTic Gaming LA, who, again, in the first few rounds, really did look very, very good. I don't want to necessarily use the word flawless, but it was pretty good gameplay. That's for sure. Is now OpTic Gaming LA back on the attack. Love to see God RX start connecting a little more consistently with some of those snipes, especially if he's going to defend over towards the A site. Meanwhile, Alex is going to push straight up. Dilly, who hit the flank last defensive round, picked up watch mid-cut, and Dashi ready and waiting for him.
Yeah, so he's in an interesting position. He's not really fearful for losing his life unless you try to run away. You have a very big statue there that is great for cover, but if you leave it, well, you just get shot in the back and die. Luckily for Silly, though, his teammate GodRX picks up the snipe to even things out to a 4v4, but this is where rounds get tricky against OpTic. You can see Minnesota know this. I don't think Assault's ever going to leave this A site until he knows for sure that that bomb is going down to B, because OpTic wrap all the time. And Slasher actually, talk about a massive gunfight. He was caught in no man's land and at least is able to pick up 1.
Yeah, Seam's going to be so confused why Slasher was playing so wide, but either way, the trade comes through. There's the snipe from God RX, and he actually has a little bit more to deal with as Dashi retrieves the bomb. Him and Chino left to clutch up at 2 versus 3. Spider senses tingling. God senses tingling as well. Actually for him, no luck just yet. Bomb, of course, planted. Doable situation here. OpTic LA. If Dashi can stay alive, but nice crispy shots from Assault. Chino, 1v3. Good luck. Have fun.
And they just got to hunt him down. They almost have to assume that he's going to be up top. You see Alex in the window, sticks him with the nade, and gets the guarantee.
That's
potentially Chino would have been able to make the play, but of course at the same time, you got 3 players that are all going to be staring up top, so not an easy spot for Chino to be in. And again, nice another round for Minnesota to get the bounce back, get closer to tying things up.
Massive round. You don't want to go down 4-1. So you get it a little closer. 3-2, the second round in a row. Look for them to tie things up in this next round as they go over towards the attacking side of things. RX with some nice snipes, crucial snipes, and OpTic Gaming LA. Things not working the past couple rounds, things just not clicking, but credit to Minnesota Røkkr. Again, showing that fighting spirit that I think we all kind of associate with them. Slow start from Asim, 1-5. Meanwhile, for GodRX, 6-4. He leads the way for Røkkr. On the other side of things, it's DJ 6-4 after a really slow game 1. Didn't really matter in the end, though. Of course, OpTic Gaming LA still win map 1. This for the Røkkr, eyeing up the A site here on the attack.
And they took their time with it too. I think they tried to avoid showing anything, and now of course the nade's coming out, so OpTic's gonna know what the deal is, but at the same time, not a terrible spot for a team to be in. Halfway up this trench, it's the delicate spot, and keep in mind while this is going on, Alex potentially working on a full flank, but he gets picked off. TJ, again, making the right reads, so now this is a very big problem for Minnesota to try to get this bomb down today.
He was working on it. Fortunately for him, it was just very well read. It's now Silly left to try and magically under something over towards A. That's a start. And he drops. Slasher, though, instantly knows the peak. GodRx will find one. Almost looking for FaZe top 5 there. Unfortunately, doesn't connect whilst dropping. GodRx for the 1 versus 3. Hit shots, but that should surely be the end of this round. Chino spots him. OpTic Gaming LA with pretty good setup here. And GodRx, no right to win this round. DJ, Chino, and Slasher set up very well. There's the peak, there's the challenge, there's the round.
And again, very nice job by OpTic. It's not a difficult thing to do, but again, we've seen enough little hiccups in these sort of situations, but very nice job of just not giving GodRx anything to work with. If you're gonna peek, you don't make it more than 0.2 seconds. Give them a couple frames to maybe hit the shot, but either way, you got bombed down, you remain stagnant. Again, TJ making nice plays on the map, reading out whenever a player is gonna flank, or just run straight up the middle of the map and make sure to get those first bloods. And now you're back to a situation where OpTic on offense, they got options. They can slow play B, depending on how they feel out the situation. They can rat back to A. The one time they've just full out gone to the A site, they had a great deal of success. So if you're on Minnesota, you're just in a tough spot trying to make these reads. They got 3 players stacked over towards B, and right now only 2 at A. So if OpTic plays aggressive, they at least have the man advantage on site.
And what's interesting here is the switch up between Slasher and Dashy. Normally Slasher will watch your mid cut. Instead, though, it's going to be Dashy's turn. No snipe in hand, so I guess that could be a reason to the adjustment. Unfortunately for Kenny, he'll fall first blood. TJ with the instant trade. That's 2 for him. GodRx with snipe still left, sniffing over towards the A site. Get a little bit of action. Unfortunately, no kill. Slasher will fall, though. It was Assault there to help GodRx. For this now, a 2 versus 3. Chino, though, scurries over towards the B site. He'll get bombed down relatively unharmed as Slasher does drop, so it's 3 versus 2. You know, Tej, Dashy, gonna try and clutch up here, or I guess the flip side, it's GodRx and Assault really trying to clutch up. GodRx spots CJ, great instincts, and finds the pick. Fortunately for GodRx, though, he'll fall instantly. Dashy with that pick and Assault left for the 1v2. That's not gonna happen. Chance, I'm gonna be honest, OpTic Gaming LA looking very good here in game 2.
And again, you just have to go back to the creativity of their strats on offense. They have so many options. Like it doesn't matter what look they show at the start of the round. They will make adjustments no matter what the situation is going to be. Show way off the rip. Even if you got the man advantage, they say, hey, we just threw a couple nades and some smokes. We're expecting Røkkr is going to get baited back to this side, which they at least drew one person that direction. Then you cut through mid-map, and then you just swarm, and you just win all the gunfights after that. Like Silly actually gets the first pick, but then 3 more players fell because everyone for OpTic gets together, and Silly only had 1 man really there for support because everyone wrapped out. There's just too many things you have to think about, too many variables playing against OpTic on offense, and right now Minnesota does not have an answer.
Down 5-2. OpTic Gaming looking to go 2-0 up in this series. Trying to get a little bit of revenge yesterday. TJ first blood looking for more. Not gonna happen. He's shut down, but there's Chino with a double. And Silly won't manage to at least find Dashy for Minnesota Røkkr, but a 2v3. Map point, of course, here for OpTic Gaming. Really with a good instinct there and a read on exactly where Quavo is, but unfortunately for him, you feel like COD timing may bite him in the butt here, just like that. Quavo peeks, finds the pick. Now it's all down to Assault. He was fantastic in the hard point. Is this his moment for the 1 versus 3? Absolutely not. Penny with the quick peek again. OpTic Gaming cruise through game 2. 6-2. Game 1, of course, a miraculous comeback, if you will. But game 2, OpTic in the driver's seat pretty much the entire time.
Yesterday was on this map. It went round 11 the way of Minnesota. OpTic, obviously, they have made consistent adjustments on this map. They have a great deal of success, and that's a map where, well, it was the other search and destroy map that Minnesota wanted to get rid of. And now let's say, hypothetically, we see a game number 5. That's a gun runner where Minnesota is 1-5 on the map. And they've just been getting completely outplayed in search. And of course, they got to win 2 maps before they even get there. OpTic, again, you can only say positive things. They've just been improving consistently, and they just look like a much better team now, Ben.
And I want to bring up a point that you made about two weeks ago, I think it was, about if the CDL was a stock market, right? Where are you putting your money? Who are you investing in? Of course, for OpTic Gaming LA, with how slow they were to start, we all had such high expectations. Investing in that team would make a lot of logical sense. And I think finally, we're at that point in the season where they've started showing consistent results against the better teams. Even if it's not necessarily winning games, they're showing that they can compete at the high level. And that search and destroy to me is a prime example. I mean, from yesterday, around 11, where they lose, to today, a 6-2 whitewash. I mean, that's a team who's clearly going over the VOD, clearly adapting and reacting very, very well. And to me, they're starting to turn into a pretty scary force, Chance. I'm going to be honest with you.
OpTic do look great. They are certainly turning into that scary force. And then, of course, for Minnesota, you got to be feeling the fear, right? You got to be feeling like there's a lot of pressure on because you haven't really lived up to the expectations that you built for yourself, not even set for yourself. You started out so great that you just kind of raised the bar for the team, and now they just can't quite match that mark. And now the pressure's on. You fall to OpTic here. Not a good look to get eliminated this early, and it's just tough to try to climb back from because now you have to be concerned every single scrim. Like, we were already so good. Like, what do we have to do to improve? How do we make these adjustments? So got to start feeling it just a little bit, starting to get put in the old pressure cooker.
I think you put it perfectly, though. It's the pressure they almost put on themselves from starting the season so well to finally everyone in the community kind of looking and saying, yeah, okay, they're top 4. Like, I can agree with that. There was kind of no doubt, right? The power 4, the top 4, big 4, whatever you want to call it, they were a part of that list. And then when everyone else starts winning weekends, starts winning events, and they still haven't, a big question mark over Minnesota Røkkr, and a lot of people, of course, looked at this weekend as one that maybe they should be winning. Unfortunately for them, then, down 2-0 in this series. Before we go to break, though, I want to take a look at, I believe it's the Warzone Weapon Charm, which you guys can, I believe, just get. I think, is it still the QR code, Chance? It might be. Either way, it's free stuff. It is. It's the QR code. Yes, we love that. We love seeing free stuff. If you don't have your phone out, we'll give you a couple of seconds. Scan the QR code and you can get yourself the CDL Weapon Charm. It's fantastic. We absolutely love to see that. But as things stand, our series is OpTic Gaming with the advantage 2-0. Game 1 close. Game 2, not really. We'll be back after this with Game 3.
Call of Duty Call of Duty League is brought to you by Metro by T-Mobile. Stay connected to what matters most with the best value in wireless.
Time to claim your spot.
I think Tyler told me it was Clay, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I gotta chow this guy. It's Clay." You know, this old guy isn't gonna kill me.
The disrespect, dude. What's going on, everybody? My name is Tyler Polchow, aka TP, and today we have episode 3 of The Barracks, presented by Metro by T-Mobile. Our guest for today is Simp from the Atlanta FaZe. The FaZe has been an absolute dominant force in the CDL so far.
All right, well, we're into it. Simp hits a nasty one right off.
Taking home the recent Florida home series event. Simp has been arguably the best player in the CDL thus far. Has had probably the best start that we've seen from a Call of Duty player in history as a pro. And today, we're hopping into his brain. Is he your favorite teammate of all time so far? He's going to break down some recent events for me, gameplay, VOD reviews,
I don't know,
going over
because
comms,
I think it'd be
everything
cool
Call
to
of
talk
Duty.
about. I mean, we have to keep it somewhat COD relevant, but also a lot of things that I think are really
That was a glance at the Metro Barracks, of course, presented by Metro T-Mobile. I believe you can tune in Wednesday. Episode highlights is TP speaking to Simp about Simp's rise to MVP candidate. And of course, Teep wants to talk a little bit about Warzone, exactly what Simp's ideal Warzone team would be. Love seeing some content with TP as well. Gotta absolutely love that. I imagine players opening up to him is just going to be very natural, if you will. So you might get some pretty good episodes out of that. I'm excited to see the outcome. And of course, one thing that's been very interesting to me, Chance, is a lot of people, of course, in social media, they've been looking at Max saying, oh, he's only performing well online, etc., etc. Simp, one of the first to step up and defend, saying, well, I had to do the same thing. A lot of people doubted me. And, well, I think Simp's results have spoken for themselves.
Absolutely. Simp's a fantastic player. I think my favorite moment out of like the entire Twitter exchange, though, was TJ talking a little bit of smack to Mac as well. Simp popped in and was just like, hey, no one can talk trash. And TJ was just like, yeah, I can. Like,
Yeah,
what do you mean? Like, I can say whatever
TJ
I want.
was literally like, yes, I can. Like, what? Like, yes, I can.
I was like, yeah, that's just like, God, it reminds me of like Karma almost, like that same type of attitude. TJ's fantastic sometimes. Funny guy. And just played fantastically well. Dropped 10 kills on the Arclaw S&D. And I really think that's a map that, honestly, teams might really have to start looking at banning against OpTic, because they are just, again, a plethora of opening strats. TJ gets a ton of first bloods. If he's not doing it, Kenny's doing it. If Kenny's not doing it, Dash is doing it with a sniper. Like, they're not a one-trick team on this map in the slightest, or it could be slash it, like, very well orchestrated team. OpTic just have that map down to a T. And even though they're beatable, obviously beatable on it, they're still incredibly difficult to play against. And I think down the line, you might see just a little bit less Arclaw for the OpTic guys.
I think it's more so just ban out something they're good at. Right? Like something that they're flat out good at. Yes, you can, VOD review and you can prepare for. But to your point, they have so many different looks. They're so versatile, it seems, that they're very comfortable. So if you're going to play OpTic Gaming in a series, you may as well make them as uncomfortable as you possibly can. And banning that map to me makes perfect sense. But moving on, in terms of our series, we'll take a quick glance at our U.S. Army tactical play from Game 2. Really, I think there's a lot of rounds you could have picked, Chance.
And I think the one we're going to have, and of course, unfortunately, I don't have a 2-monitor setup, Ben, which sucks because I can't get the timing right.
Can I set up a GoFundMe? Can we just send you a second monitor so whenever we have these tactical plays, you'll have to? How
Let's
do you
not get into it. I'll just break down the playoff memory.
It's 2020. How do you not have a second monitor?
Bro, of all the... No, I want to talk about COD, Ben, not monitors. Right. The play was, Silly gets the first blood. He gets the pick of the guy that was coming out like the little side broken door thing, and then he sprints forward and immediately dies. But the reason he sprints forward is because how many times have we seen OpTic when they're like actually showing the B strat, everyone stacks up in mid. So Silly sprints forward expecting someone to come out behind him and challenge, but because there's 18 different strats that OpTic can throw at you, he doesn't know. He gets immediately picked off, and even though Minnesota gets that first blood, the next 3 kills all the way go to OpTic because they had every angle covered. They made sure to trade out every possible kill, and then the guys that didn't need to trade anything just straight up win their gunfights. But you have players mid-map that even when they're getting the first blood, they just genuinely have no idea what direction to look. Like, it's something like you're playing the percentages. You've seen OpTic go mid-map with that pressure enough that you're thinking, all right, 80% sure they're behind me, and then it's the one time they're just not, and they're sitting inside the little cut to take him down. And again, OpTic have almost turned that map into pure guesswork on when you want to rotate in and out, going to which bomb site. And again, it's just a very difficult team to orchestrate yourself against.
And I'm curious to see if maybe they can start developing that on other maps as well. Not to necessarily say, they're a poor search and destroy team, of course not.
Agreed.
But I think that could honestly be a massive key to success. I know we talked at length yesterday about, teams really turning search into that solid game mode. Maybe that could be just a back pocket key to success for OpTic Gaming LA when we're talking long run, when we're talking about potentially, CDL championship. But we'll wait and see. Still plenty of Call of Duty up until then. Of course, and plenty of Call of Duty for this weekend too. Minnesota Røkkr, they find themselves down 2-0. Is this the start of a comeback? Will we see this series go back-to-back game 5? So it's a neutral. Personally, hope so. Or is this where OpTic Gaming just shut it down and get themselves a nice 3-0 to guarantee themselves some CDL Sunday action?
CDL Sunday action would be a beautiful sight to see. And of course, this is the first map that we really get the variation from the series. Yesterday was gunrunner domination that was played. Minnesota won that by 10 points. OpTic says, don't want to run that back. No, thank you. We'll try our hand at Hackney Yard. And things not going great for them, at least off the rip. But you see the feed, they've gotten quite a few kills. You have to imagine might be poised up to reclaim this B flag.
Gino tagged up pretty bad, but he should be good just to stay alive. And his teammates, they'll neutralize and they'll cap up B, and there's the first pick for Chino. Nicely done off the start. It was, as you mentioned, a pretty slow start there. It looked like it could maybe get out of hand, but the kill feed all green for a moment allowed OpTic Gaming to retake B. So now with a 2-1 flag advantage, unfortunately, players fall for OpTic Gaming inside B. Simple as that. Minnesota Røkkr just walk straight in. They'll reclaim their prize at B. There was a little bit of pressure being put on the map there from Asim as he looked to maybe try and work a little bit of magic over towards the C flag. That was short-lived, however. With just over a minute gone, and it seems like the game's starting to stabilize just a little bit. It's Minnesota Røkkr with the advantage.
Yeah, Dashy, though, is pouring the pressure on. Him and Kenny are going to be working together, and you actually see OpTic Gaming full clearance over to the B side. And frankly, it's only Asim that's going to be left over towards A. Now you got players like Assault who are just going to have to sprint over towards A to try to win the one-on-one gunfight. Kenny with the MP5, and not easy for him to win. It doesn't come out on top. Assault, though, should get traded. OpTic pouring all the pressure in the world trying to go secure this A flag.
Well, it's Minnesota Røkkr in danger in the series, and well, as OpTic Gaming neutral and claim their A flag, could be in danger here in the first half of this dom. I'm going to set it over now to an Astro Gaming listening with Minnesota Røkkr.
Nice! So we can't have B, bro. I'm gonna flash check mid. Push in, help. Tap all dead. In, one more. I res mid. On the crate. He's trying. I'm mid. They can't flank. I'm mid. I'm mid. Push bottom. Great side. Greats. It's Kenny. I got great stage. I got two guys. Nice. I naded again. Go mid. Sax, I think. Kenny on. Back B. Back on. Fuck. I'll get you. Don't worry. Push our green. Oh my fucking god, I got naded. I'm gonna need over Røkkr. Wrap back our sign, go B. Come in. Yeah, I'm done. Yellow crate. Backed up. Let's P3 too. I didn't hit him Parker. AP3. I'm looking at crate. I got both. Make crate zone. Be quick. Top AC and stack. AC, top AC. Did he hop up? Already hopped up? AC weak and then behind me, bro. In garage. Red crate. Jump down behind you. Flash left side. Go. I can smoke when I spawn.
This is more like it. A very, very close game. 51-49. OpTic Gaming in control of the points, in control in the flags. A minute and a half to go, and it looks like they're putting pressure on the trip cap.
And this might be the biggest moment of the game. OpTic Gaming will at least get the neutralization on C. And frankly, Asim, he's got to go big against TJ right here. It needs to get this secure on the point. Actually, has the teammate to help secure it. And TJ does not get the final kill. And you talk about that being important because if that does not go through, OpTic would run the score up by quite a bit more. Yep. And even still, they still got that 2 flag set up. A minute 15 left. They might just run up the score anyway.
That's the danger here for Minnesota Røkkr as they look to maybe push over towards B. As you can see on the minimap, there's no one that can really overextend over towards A as things stand. So realistically, you can play park the bus defense if you're OpTic Gaming. You just can't afford to all fall, and that's not the best start to maybe a park the bus defensive strat over towards B. A couple of players drop. A lot of work to be done. There's one, almost finds 2. Silly somehow survives, and well, Chino's going to have to hit a cheeky little flank here, which should be good for at least 1 kill. B still under OpTic Gaming control, and of course, as you mentioned, Chance, that lead starting to get a little bigger, second by second.
And with 35 seconds left, it doesn't really look like Minnesota has the positioning to make a play anywhere on the map. I mean, right now you got 2 guys that are trying to cut through the top side to go to A, but look at the OpTic arrows. They have, what, 1 guy watching the cut from mid-map. That's going to be Dash. They had 2 players actually sitting basically back on top of the A flag, just hanging out and waiting for it. They knew exactly where the pressure was going to be coming from based on where Minnesota was going to be spawning. Read it to a T and are going to build themselves a maybe 25, 26 point lead going into the half. And frankly, just looking at those kills for a moment, Minnesota, no one really getting any sort of good production in this lane category.
I think the key to point out is Silly was 3 and 13 up until that 2-piece, which should put him at the half at 5 and 13. Very, very slow start from him. He is going to have to turn things around. Great in game 1 and 2.
Wasn't just him either. His teammates all had 5 kills.
That was just the worst stat line. That was just the one that really jumped out. But I mean, you're absolutely right. Just in terms of slaying across the board there for Minnesota Røkkr, that's not going to be good enough. As OpTic Gaming 5 minutes away from some nice revenge and a 3-0 sweep, and they get the job done.
Apologies, but frankly, right now for OpTic in a great spot as well. You get the good spawn, you start at A, Slasher will just get the cap straight away, and actually just 2-hopping it, trying to get it as fast as possible, trusting because of the advantageous side over towards B that you'll be good to go. And Minnesota off the rip have just sent 4 players effectively trying to go around for the A flank, and they get shut down immediately.
Oh. Chance, I can currently hear Miles the Ross in my ear, so Miles,
yeah, I don't know why.
Miles, hi, how you doing, bud? Kind of furiously typing away, but back to business.
I thought that was you, and I was like, yo,
it definitely
Ben, like,
wasn't
bro,
me. I'm
you
not sure
got
it was
it,
the stream.
no.
I'm not sure it was the stream court that, but Miles, hi, how you doing? Excited to hear you guys call the final game of the night, but let's say stand here in the second half. Still a time to OpTic Gaming, and this is a pretty bad start, all things considered, here for Minnesota Røkkr, because you'd love to see them kind of get the ball rolling, but it seems OpTic Gaming have the perfect setup at number 7. That's going to be Kenny up top. Oh, almost could have maybe made a magical play happen if he finds 2. Could put some pressure over towards C, but again, for OpTic Gaming, this is what you want.
And really, they just played it smart from the get-go, right? Just making sure off the opening break, you read the pressure where it's coming in from Minnesota, who effectively try to send 4 players around the flank to flip the spawns as fast as they could. No success with that. So you make that investment, effectively throw away the B flag fight off the rip just in hopes you flip the spawns. That doesn't happen. Now you're down by 40 points, and just OpTic has had the full lockdown over here this entire time. I don't know who from Minnesota is going to have to be the guy to make the big play. Maybe Asim, maybe Rotman gets paid, maybe Rotman can get through, and he's just about towards the point over by A, but still not easy gunfights for him to win. Quavo still might be here to shut him down. Asim comes out big, and finally Minnesota have pressure over towards B based on what Asim has been able to buy them. Yes, he gets shut down, but finally the pressure has been alleviated. Now you got 3 minutes left on the clock. You're working on that 40-point deficit.
The big issue is that Minnesota are going to know this. They're not going to win this game holding C and B. They have to push through. They have to try and get some pressure over towards A. But unfortunately for them, they have to hold B, and that's just been instantly defeated by OpTic Gaming LA. They push straight through. Nicely done by Alex. He'll find 1, but it's not going to be enough unless they can capitalize on maybe the team kill. Would that be enough? Quavo, of course, accidentally there shoots Dashi. An opening for Minnesota Røkkr, but how big is it? Quavo, of course, still alive. Finally, he falls. Minnesota Røkkr looking neutral B and maybe even retake control of it, but Sasha has other plans.
So he's though able to get the 1 big pick, but right now this is just Minnesota fighting tooth and nail to hope that they can get the B flag. And again, as you pointed out, really not going to be enough. You're never going to be able to hold C and B for a substantial amount of time. And frankly, with 2.5 minutes left, you're down by 43. You're really going to want to get the triple cap for just a moment, or neutralize and flip and be annoying in and around that C flag. And frankly, for OpTic, someone right now, Slasher, if he wants to be the guy, anyone at some point could spawn out, rotate over towards C and try to get the neutral over there and just try to chip away at the points.
Slasher, great performance here, 30 and 11. I'm not sure if it was Miles or Momo who had him as their player of the day and player to watch, but whoever it was, you're absolutely right. He has been a menace on the map today in every single game mode, it seems. And I mean, for me, with 1:50 to go, it feels like the inevitable is OpTic Gaming sweep here, 3-0, barring an absolute miracle for Minnesota Røkkr. Yes, they get the first step done. They flip the map, they get control of A and B. But at this point, I mean, you want to see some consistent pressure over towards C, whether it's neutral and run. More importantly, though, you have to hold that B flag. It's all going to start there.
Yeah, 35 points in a minute and a half. I think they're required mathematically to at least get the neutral. I don't think they have to do it for very long, but either way, they're going to have to start doing it quickly. And you see Alex maybe thinking about the pressure. You got a couple purple arrows worked up nice and tight, and Nassim trying to do the same thing. And this is not a play you see too often when you have the AB set up to send players to try to force this player out at C. And look at the setup for OpTic. They actually have players sitting in the corners up at the top of the map by C, anchoring the spawns. Chino, I don't think he's going to move.
No, and it's a smart thing to do. Recognize that you can win off one and try and hold that one as much as you possibly can and really funnel Minnesota Røkkr into an unfavorable position. And then when one player spawns up top, maybe you can think about overextending, which could have been the game plan there for Slasher. Instead, he cuts mid-map, wants to try and alleviate some pressure over towards B, and that's an incredible two-piece. Looking for the third with the pistol would have been nice. And the reason that's such an important double kill is it opens up B so heavily for OpTic Gaming to go in, neutralize, and basically win this game.
And again, keep in mind, while the game has been sealed over on B, Chino, if you had a heat map on him, he has lived in that corner for the longest time, because like he's going to kill him from one side, and then even if he falls and someone from Minnesota gets through on C, which again, they were required to do maybe 30, 45 seconds ago, he's going to make sure his teammates spawn over on the yellow side of things, the bottom left side of the minimap, and then the pinch will be on at C anyway. So the setup right there from OpTic was perfect. The decision-making was on point. They knew exactly what they had to do in and around the C flag. They built themselves a nice lead. And it's the same thing in Search and Destroy. Like, you have an easy play, you just don't need to make mistakes. And OpTic Gaming, they're just playing the smart Call of Duty now.
Oh, Minnesota Røkkr. That's the end of your weekend. It's complimentary teabag right there to close things out. 171-157 advantage. OpTic Gaming, of course, 3-0 on the series. Some nice revenge from yesterday. And I'm going to say it, Chance, that to me is probably the most fundamentally sound performance from OpTic we've probably seen all year. Yes, you can maybe say game one required a comeback, but even so, it showed some resiliency, and you can see GodRx there not too happy, as he knows Minnesota Røkkr should be getting through to every Sunday they're competing at, and that was a poor performance from him specifically. 10 and 25, very unlike him.
And like, when these players are talking to themselves on Minnesota, you can say, look, Chino got a fantastic spawn on his Azir Cave hardpoint. We were blowing them out on the map. That sucked out a lot of momentum. But at the same, and then you can also go even further and say GodRx has been a beast on land consistently the entire year. Online struggles have been way more present for him and as an individual player. So maybe we're thinking, all right, it's just online. This isn't us at our best. As soon as we get back to that land environment, if it even ever happens, we're going to be more confident in our gameplay. But you can sit there and tell your things that, Blue, when you're taking these losses, you still have to go back and scrim it. Like, it doesn't feel good. Like, psychologically, it wears you down, even if you have legitimate excuses even that you can make for your team. It's just not a fun situation to be in, and I think that adds to the sort of pressure cooker situation for Minnesota, where they're just getting beat now. Like, they're just straight up getting beat by these teams that they've been better than throughout the course of the entire year.
Honestly, completely agree with you. I think that's going to start playing maybe some psychological warfare internally with that team. Obviously, we talked a lot about potential drama, potential team changes, roster changes, all that. Minnesota Røkkr, not a team that I think many people would think, yeah, they're going to make a team change. I saw a couple of crazy theories about maybe gunless to Minnesota Røkkr. To me, just doesn't make sense. I think it's more an internal struggle at this point for Minnesota Røkkr, and I expect them to try and turn things around. But one thing is for sure, that's 2 events in a row now where they've vastly underperformed given their previous performances. On the flip side, though, for OpTic Gaming LA, you're feeling real good if you're a fan of OpTic Gaming. You're still, part of that green wall. Yeah, now's the time where, you can prove all those haters may be wrong.
I mean, the pick and bans, honestly, for the team are starting to work out a little bit better. You talk about them playing fundamentally correctly. They look like a very well-orchestrated team. And again, I don't know exactly how deep their map pool is, because, yes, I think a part of it is other teams are going to start banning out some of OpTic's better maps as we're learning what they do when they have Chino on board instead of JCap. So it's a learning process for all the teams. But right now, OpTic, again, you talk about the stock market of the CDL. They are definitely right now on the uptick. And for Minnesota, starting to fall closer and closer just towards the average middle of the pack.
Of course, that's going to set up tomorrow a fantastic semi-final on the top side. London Royal Ravens, OpTic Gaming LA. On the bottom side, of course, questions still remain. Who will face Huntsmen? And you get that answer, of course, coming up next. New York Subliners versus the LA Guerrillas to close out what has been a fantastic day 2 here at the Seattle Surge home series. I'm excited, and I'm curious, just before we go, Chance, your kind of thoughts on the next matchup, New York Subliners versus LA Guerrillas.
Well, instinctually, I would just say New York almost outright, but I will say Vivid was very impressive in the most recent series against Seattle. And it's one of those things that, like, you have the new young guns. They've got, what, 3 of them in the next series. Mac Meltz has obviously been fantastic. Vivid and Spart, a little bit more inconsistent, definitely have not looked as good. And obviously, team success is a part of that equation. But if Vivid's shooting like that, and Aqua has also looked very good from what I've seen the past 2 series that they've played, I think it might be a closer series than we'd expect. But even that being said, I still think New York is going to come out on top.
I tweeted out after the last series, but for me, watching Aqua play this weekend, this weekend specifically, has been okay. He's found form, right, which is great. For those of you that don't know, historically, he's been a very, very top tier player, talented, had some great results at some of the biggest tournaments of the year. So for me, for him to find that form is going to be crucial. And more importantly, to stay at that form, right? It's all good having one weekend here and one weekend there, but if he can stay consistently that good, I mean, watching him put up some of the numbers and some of the plays he was making in Search specifically for me was fantastic. And again, another great performance yesterday. But for me, I don't know where I stand. I really don't. After watching London dismantle New York the way they did, I don't know where to kind of put New York Subliners, chance. And it's confusing because, again, I feel like we're falling into the anyone can beat anyone sort of weekend.
I mean, again, just best of luck making power rankings. I've had a theory from the start of the year that, like, the power rankings Nameless had where he got roasted from the get-go just because of how, like, I don't want to say weird the launch weekend was, but we had Dallas Empire expected to be the best team in the game. They go 0-2, and then immediately everyone's like, all right, they're top 4, but they're definitely not the best. Right. Now we're back to the point where everyone's like, all right, no, Dallas is actually towards the top. We had Paris towards the bottom, but they start out great, but now they've started to fizzle out and work their way down. I'm thinking by the end of the year, Nameless might have nailed it with his predictions,
can you imagine?
And it just takes time.
Oh, my.
He's going to be close. He's going to be close.
If the standings finish,
not counting Seattle,
Nameless is, yeah, that's fair.
There's exceptions to every rule.
That is true. But if they finish close to how Nameless predicted at the very start of the year, that would actually be incredible, because after opening weekend, there was not very many people that could agree with Nameless's power rankings. But either way, it seems like the league is starting to shift that way. And that's for sure. But once again, congratulations to OpTic Gaming LA. They get a little bit of revenge from yesterday, a 3-0 victory against Minnesota Røkkr, where again, game modes 2, Search and Destroy, and 3, Domination. Pretty much flawless. A very, very well-oiled machine, it seems. I think a lot of teams may be watching. London Royal Ravens may start considering a couple of map bans here and there, maybe targeting OpTic Gaming LA a little more and force them to show what else they have in their locker, because we've seen a couple of things come through consistently for them, and they've had a lot of success there. For Minnesota Røkkr, though, it seems to me, Chance, it's kind of back to the drawing board, if you will. Things just unfortunately not going their way. But as we said, still some more Call of Duty action on the day. The final game to decide who will make it through to Sunday and face the Huntsmen. But that's everything for myself and Chance for today. We're going to a quick commercial break. When we come back, I believe Lottie is speaking to Slasher.